Hello and welcome again to Not Fake News. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and smash that like button. This 3-minute video will finally destroy CNN. James O'Keefe did a video. Let's watch before it's deleted. Van Jones, Russian thing. It's a big nothing burger, he admits. A truth strikes again. Yesterday we watched O'Keefe drop a bombshell on CNN about the show dubbed American Pravda. This video now shows CNN's most prominent commentators admitting that the Russia story is a big nothing burger.
Other presidents tried to say nice things about the Russians and other, warm things in their heart and they love, not in the face of an active attack on the country.
Hey, man.
The Russian thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really?
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that? There's this ratings.
I would encourage everybody in this room and frankly everybody across the country to take a look at it.
Changing it from fake news, though. Doesn't that under very fake news? But aren't you?
The Russian thing is just a big nothing burger.
Today we continue with our American Pravda investigations inside America's mainstream media with part 2 on CNN. Fake news. The Russia story. You're about to see one of CNN's most prominent left-leaning political commentators in total agreement with President Trump. We think this might be the first time this has ever happened. Maybe it's because he didn't realize he was going to be on television. And as Chris Cuomo has said, sometimes that's when you're the most honest.
Hey, man. We met in Palm Springs a few years back.
Good to see you, man. You good?
Yeah. How you been? What are you doing? What do you think's going to happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russian thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really? You don't think that?
Nothing there you can do. The Russian thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really? You don't think that?
Nothing there you can do.
Yesterday, you met supervising producer John Bonifield.
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that?
There's this ratings.
Because ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now.
But honestly, you think the whole Russia shit is just like bullshit?
Could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. Like, we don't have any big giant proof. But
CNN's response, quote, CNN stands by our medical producer John Bonifield. Diversity of personal opinion is what makes CNN strong. We welcome it and embrace it. Unquote. Good, because Bonifield says he was not alone in his cynicism for the news business, and Van Jones agrees with him that the Russia story is bold.
so I love the news business, but
I find it so
I'm
fascinating.
very cynical about it. At the same time, so are most of my colleagues.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not alone.
The Russian thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really?
The organization is reeling. The president is posting headlines about our investigation, and even mainstream media is paying attention. White House spokesperson Sarah Huckabee Sanders has a recommendation to all.
There's a video circulating now, whether it's accurate or not, I don't know, but I would encourage everybody in this room and frankly everybody across the country to take a look at it.
So there you have it. Van Jones admits the Russia story is just a nothing burger. Bonifield says it's all about ratings. The White House is telling everyone to go watch the videos. The media for years has gotten away with manufacturing consent. People are fed up with the emptiness and the artifice that pervades our media. Well, I'll tell you something. Change is coming, whether CNN likes it or not.
Ouch. Ouch. Woof. Sorry, CNN. It's going down in the hood. You're going down in the hood. This is just sick. CNN has been pushing false Russian narrative in order to get ratings. They have been pushing fake news to make money with no regard to the destruction that they are causing in America. Look at his face. Look at his face, right? This is obviously a wrestler, but look at his face. This is the funniest thing I've read in so long. Watch this. You ready? A liberal's face when they watch CNN's fake news. Oh yeah. Oh, did you hear that? Oh my God, Lisa. Kathy, did you hear? Oh my God. Oh yes. Trump with the hookers in Russia. Oh. Trump colluded with Russia. Oh. Michael Flynn talked to who? Sean Spicer's being fired? Sessions is a what? Jared Kushner did what? Oh. CNN is like a WWE wrestling's for liberals. WWE News. We know it's fake now. CNN is like WWE wrestling for liberals. They know it's fake now, but they just like to imagine them winning against Trump. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Isn't that great? This is with everyone you know. Share it. If you want CNN to quit lying to the American people and fade away into dust, there has to be a regulation that prevents propaganda in the U.S. that has at this point caused federal investigators to waste taxpayer money. Don't let CNN hold back America. Turn them off. And what's this? Tucker Carlson on CNN getting exposed. What happened to Uma Abedin and that? It's from InfoWars probably. How long is it? 17 minutes? 14 minutes? You want 14 minutes of Tucker? You're gonna get it. You asked for it. Now you're gonna get it.
Welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. It's been pretty obvious for a while now that the Trump-Russia story is essentially bogus. There are some criticisms you could level at the Trump administration, maybe a few of them, but collaborating with Vladimir Putin is not on that list. So why are the other news channels still behaving like this stupid little conspiracy tale is the moral equivalent of the Nuremberg trials? Well, until this morning, we could only speculate, and we did, but now we know for sure. James O'Keefe's Project Veritas released a new video in which a CNN producer called John Bonifield explained the entire deal and admitted the network's coverage was, quote, BS. Watch.
Honestly, you'd think the whole Russia is just like bullshit.
Could be bull. I mean, it's mostly bull right now. Like, we don't have any big giant proof.
Big giant.
Constantly like Russia this, Russia that.
What an idiot.
Those ratings.
We don't have any like big giant proof.
The ratings are incredible. Never mind that the core story is untrue, or that it's a distraction from important events actually taking place in the world, or that maybe most important, it's hamstringing our foreign policy to the point where America's vital interests are suffering as a result. Who cares? It's ratings gold. And that's all that matters. According to Bonifield, CNN President Jeff Zucker actually ordered his reporters to get off real news and back to Russia because, hey, it's a cash cow.
So, my boss, I shouldn't say this, my boss a couple days yesterday, we were having a discussion about this dental shoot. He's like, I just want you to know what we're up against here. And he goes, just to give you some context, President Trump pulled out of the climate accords, and for a day and a half we covered the climate accords, and the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job everybody covering the climate accords, but we're done with it, let's get back to Russia.
The CEO?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So even the climate accords, it was like, okay, a day or so, but we're moving back to Russia.
Yeah, good luck explaining something complicated like science. Now, in case you're wondering whether the tape you just saw is real, and you might wonder, we should tell you that CNN is not even contesting its veracity, nor are they backing away from it in any way. A real news outlet might feel an obligation to explain itself, having just been caught pushing a bogus conspiracy in exchange for more advertiser dollars, but not CNN. Instead, they issued a statement briefly in support of the producer in question. Here's what it says, quote, "Diversity of personal opinion is what makes CNN strong, and we welcome and embrace it." Of course, diversity. Say the word 5 times and all is forgiven. It's like magic, the progressive equivalent of the witch's spell. The irony, though, of course, is that diversity of thought is exactly what is missing in the American media at this moment. Almost every reporter in Washington is hot on this Russia story. Those who dissent are attacked by their peers as collaborators, collaborating either with Trump or more ominously with Putin himself. The result is to make everyone in the press dumber and much more credulous. Just yesterday, CNN had to fire 3 of its reporters after they published a bogus story attempting to connect Trump associate Anthony Scaramucci with the Russian government. Now, the piece was clearly wrong, thinly sourced, and puffy. And yet, this is the interesting part. No other American news outlets caught it. In the end, that story was exposed by something called Sputnik News. That's a media company literally owned by the Russian government, ironically. So the question is, where were the watchdogs in our own press? Well, they were, of course, hypnotized by their own preconceptions. The story confirmed their biases, therefore it had to be true, even when it wasn't. And by the way, it's not just CNN. Remember that in December, the Washington Post claimed Russian intelligence had literally hacked our power grid in this country. Now, that story was totally false in every detail. The Washington Post published it anyway. Slate.com, meanwhile, ran a piece claiming the Trump organization had a secret server connection to Russia. That turned out to be false, too, published anyway. Even reliable old C-SPAN, probably the straightest news outlet in the world, great people there, but it still got caught up for just a second in the Red Scare itself. In January, they claimed to have been hacked by the Russian media. Never happened. Now, part of this is just hysteria, that moment when you convince yourself that the monsters under your bed are real. But part of it is more sinister than that. It's the conscious decision to tell your viewers what they want to hear, even when you know the core story is wrong. That's called corruption, and it's happening, and these tapes show it's happening. Joe Concha writes about the media for The Hill, and he joins us tonight. This seems like a crisis point for that network. I mean, this is back-to-back 2 vivid, non-contested illustrations of editorial corruption.
I don't think you're engaging the hyperbole here, Tucker. I mean, the bottom line is these last 2 stories that CNN got wrong. Remember, the first was a couple of weeks ago with James Comey, supposed to refute Donald Trump. When Donald Trump said, "I'm not being investigated," James Comey told me that.
Hey guys, I'm Carly Kloss, and I just created my own website with Wix.
Go to Wix.com to create your...
Trump, when Donald Trump said, "I'm not being investigated," James Comey told me that 3 times. Right. That story was wrong. I don't mind when you get it wrong, Tucker. But the problem is, as you said, thinly sourced, as in only one source. You know how many reporters were on the byline of that story? 4. That's a 4-to-1 reporter to source ratio.
It's a lot.
And then you had this story just from a couple days ago with Scaramucci. Same thing. A Pulitzer winner is working on that story along with 2 others. Again, 1 source, 3 reporters, 3-to-1 ratio. So to go to bat with just one unnamed source, and again, we've talked about this, we don't know that source's motive. It's probably to hurt the administration. They may have a motivation to lie. To go with one source, CNN got burned once. They should have learned from it. They got burned twice. People resigned, and I don't think a crisis point is really engaging in any sort of hysteria there, Tucker. I think you're right on.
All the mistakes are in one direction, too. You notice we all make mistakes. I've made a ton of them. But, you know, you hope that they're honest mistakes. What bothers me about this story is that it's preventing coverage of anything else. And by the way, if you dislike Trump and were upset with the administration, there are plenty of stories you could do that would be critical of the White House. But they're sticking with a story that they know, and this tape, I think, shows that some of their producers know is bogus, and they're sticking with it anyway because it makes them the most money. I mean, that's wrong.
You say that it's preventing from reporting on other stories, right? MRC, I get they're conservative, but nobody ever refutes their analysis, their studies. And they came up with this today, which is just stunning numbers. 353 minutes on the evening newscast since May 17th have been committed to Russia or Comey investigation. You know how many minutes have been actually dedicated to terrorism, a very important topic that a lot of people voted on? 29 minutes, 353 versus 29. How about the economy, the #1 issue that people vote on? How Donald Trump probably got in office, considering Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and he had an economic message, and Hillary Clinton didn't. 5 whole minutes. How about trade? 5 whole minutes. So you say we're missing other stories? You're damn right we are.
It seems like they're narrowcasting to a small group of people who have eccentric views on Russia, and they've decided this is our base, and our advertising rates are going up as a result. They're getting big numbers relative to what they normally get after an election. And so this really is a business decision, it seems like, to me.
Yeah, let's be clear about that. CNN last quarter had its 2nd highest watched quarter ever. Congratulations. Yeah. Here's the problem. All other cable news networks are up as well. And CNN, despite being up year over year the way they are, they're still in a very distant 3rd place in terms of total viewers in prime, and a very distant 3rd place, well, not distant, but they're in 3rd place in terms of this younger demo that advertisers covet most. And look, I want to quote Chris Murphy, by the way, who is a senator from Connecticut. Right? He's a Democratic senator, and he takes the bus home sometimes, Tucker, because he wants to talk to people that don't go to political rallies, just regular people that maybe aren't as involved with politics, but they still care. Here's what he says, and I quote. He says, you know, normally people don't call my office, don't write my office. I go on the bus, I talk to them, and I say, I'll just say they are never talking about issues like Russia. They are not talking, frankly, about what's on cable news at night. They're talking about wages, education, and public safety. So let's take a cue from a Democratic senator saying, let's move on and let's talk about issues that people actually care about and want to be educated on.
It's one of those weird ruling class obsessions here in Washington. Joe, thanks a lot for that. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Let's suppose that you're writing a really important email to a colleague. Or a post on Facebook that all your friends will see.
Okay. Oh my God, they're all going to see this.
You just have to get an A on.
I have to get this A. I have to get this A.
Or a resume for your dream job.
Oh my God, if I write this correctly,
to your crush on a dating
I'll
site.
get this job. He
The
loves
point
me.
is that you write important things each and every day.
Class obsessions here in Washington. Joe, thanks a lot for that. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Well, CNN isn't just having problems with its Russian narrative, it's also apparently having trouble with more elemental concepts like raise your hand and wait your turn before speaking. On Monday, CNN's Jim Acosta, the White House correspondent, ignored those rules and instead repeatedly interrupted the press secretary at the White House with his questions. Judge for yourself.
Things up. The camera's off, Sean. Why did you turn them off? Can you just give us an answer to that? Can you tell us why you turned the cameras off? Why are they off, Sean? It's a legitimate question. It's a legitimate question. You are a taxpayer spokesman for the United States government. Can you at least give us an explanation as to why the cameras are off?
After that, Acosta went on CNN and complained, weirdly, about being ignored.
Sean Spicer has refused to take questions from CNN for weeks now. That's been going on for some time. He may have taken a question here or there over the last couple of weeks, but we've largely been just blackballed during these briefings. We're just not getting questions to the White House press secretary. That would not have happened in previous administrations.
Mommy, look what Sean did.
Really kind of the Dietrich Bonhoeffer of the White House press corps. Brad Hume spent a lot of time at the White House over the years. He's our senior political analyst, obviously, at Fox, and he joins us now. So I like an aggressive White House correspondent. I've employed a few, even kind of crazed aggressive. But the description of the turning off the cameras as like the end of democracy seems like maybe it calls for some perspective.
Yeah, I would say so, because I can remember back during the Clinton administration and previous administrations as well, when on-camera briefings were not the norm. In fact, the Clinton administration tried it for a while, didn't like the results, and went to a system where they would have some cameras on and microphones on at the top, and then that would be shut down, and the rest of the briefing would proceed. And remember this, no reporter for a news organization as sizable and as important as CNN should be relying on the briefings to get news. A CNN correspondent can get his or her calls returned. New York Times reporter, Washington Post reporter, Fox News correspondent. We can get our calls returned at the White House. It's for the lots and lots of dozens of smaller news organizations that cover the White House on a daily basis, and the briefing is really kind of there for them, to give them a chance to get a question, get it answered, and to learn sort of what the schedule for the day is and the rest of it. It's, you know, if you had a really good question that really led somewhere, you'd never ask it in the briefing because you don't want to inform the entire rest of the press corps what you're working on.
It's kabuki.
So
it's theater. So you were there for a long time for the networks, for ABC News.
Right.
Did you go to the briefing every day and show questions?
Well, I went as a rule, but most of the time the briefings are not very helpful under any administration. I mean, you know, the best press secretary in my time was Marlin Fitzwater, who was there for Reagan and then later for Bush. He was very good, but oftentimes the briefings aren't particularly informative. I usually had a crossword puzzle open in front of me at the briefings, and after a while during the Clinton administration, they got to be so uninformative that I didn't even go. I mean, I was in a booth at the back and I could hear, but I was busy with other things. I mean, these briefings have become they've become a certain kind of TV drama day by day, but they're really not for the purpose of information, and no good reporter worth his or her salt would rely on the briefings to get the news.
So just for the record, the changes in the way this White House is presenting the news to the White House press corps, do they seem out of line with you in general? Do they seem
I don't know. I don't know what the day-to-day experience of reporters on the beat is, because I'm not there anymore. But the situation with the briefings, it seems to me, is a sort of a sideshow. Right. And the real question is, there's something called the pool, which is the subset of the press corps that goes with the president, because the White House is a small place, the airplane is a small place. You can't take everybody and have them following the president around everywhere. It's a good question whether the pool is getting the access it wants. I understand the president leaves them behind sometimes. I think that's regrettable. There's no inconvenience to the president to having a group of reporters in tow. It's not as if they get to barge into social events or walk with him on the golf course. Never has been the case. But we'll see about that. But I mean, by and large, I don't think anything terribly draconian seems to be happening to press freedom in America because of the briefing policies at the White House.
When you're covering, my final question, when you're covering the White House from the briefing room, and there are cameras present, and you're a TV reporter, how powerful is the temptation to make it about you?
Well, it's a temptation that must be resisted, because you don't want to advertise your best question, right?
Right.
And I guess in this hot house atmosphere, with this antipathy toward this president as strong as it is now, it's a kind of a form of virtue signaling to be asking tough questions in the briefing, right? And it seems to me that there's no point in beating up on the briefer. If you want to ask tough questions, try to ask them with the president.
Exactly.
Right.
Or call the guy, right? Because they'll take your call. You know what I mean? Call the White House.
They will take your call. No, it's a way. It's a way of showing. I mean, I asked a question in a press conference in the Rose Garden one time. It was the Ruth Bader Ginsburg nomination announcement, and the President Clinton had gone through kind of an odd process where the White House let it be known that first one candidate was going to be the one, then another, and finally he settled on Ginsburg. And the process, I described the process in my question as kind of a zigzag process. And I asked a question very politely that suggested that people saw it as a zigzag process, and asked if he'd care to disabuse us of that notion. Well, he got furious and closed down the news conference. It was a celebrated event, and closed down the news conference. It was a celebrated event, and these things can happen. I didn't do it to grandstand. It was the question you had to ask. It was the question on everybody's mind. You shouldn't ask questions to grandstand. You should ask questions because you want to know the answer.
If that was provocative, it shows how far we've come.
Indeed.
Or fallen. Thank you.
You bet.
Anderson Cooper calls Veritas Action videos damning.
Different. Video emerging of a group of pro-Clinton political operatives talking about stirring up trouble and provoking violence at Trump rallies. The video comes from Project Veritas brainchild James O'Keefe, who's got a less than stellar reputation for accuracy. However, some of the things you'll hear on the tape are certainly hard to ignore. Enough we're learning for one person to be fired so far, another to resign. A lot of questions being asked about the recording. Senior investigative correspondent Drew Griffin tonight has the story.
The undercover videos produced by discredited conservative activist James O'Keefe.
Discredited by us because we don't want you to listen to him, even though he's not discredited. The only reason you're saying that is because he was arrested for doing a report and running into a federal building after they said their phones weren't working, and he ran into, as an investigation, to see if the phones worked. Yeah, he trespassed for a minute and picked up a phone to hear a dial tone, but that was it.
Suggest it was Democratic operatives, hired political activists, working in coordination with the DNC to instigate violence and incite reactions at Trump rallies. And in one of the undercover videos, Scott Fovel, a subcontractor for a DNC-hired firm called Democracy Partners, supposedly explains just how he does it.
There's a script. Okay. There's a script of engagement. Sometimes the crazies bite.
There's a script. There's a script of engagement. Sometimes the crazies bite, and sometimes the crazies don't.
Sometimes the crazies don't bite. When they're outside the rally.
When they're outside the rally, the media will cover it no matter where it happens. The key is in initiating the conflict by having leading conversations with people that are naturally psychotic.
They're more affected out. They're harder to get in.
The media will cover it no matter where it happens. I assume it's always in the rally.
No matter where it happens?
Creating the conflict.
The conflict.
By having leading conversations with people who are naturally psychotic. I mean, honestly, it is not hard to get some of these assholes to...
honestly, it is not hard to get some of these assholes to pop off. Yeah. Like, I'll break your nose right off your face if you come in my face and call me an asshole. I'll pop your nose right off your grill piece.
Off. Right. It's a matter of showing up to want to get in.
Would it be wrong to just walk up to him and kick him in the balls? BAM! And walk away? Like, who the fuck was that? Oh my god, my nuts!
To the rally in a Planned Parenthood t-shirt. Or, you know, Trump is a Nazi. You know, you can message to draw them out and draw them to punch you.
According to the undercover videos, it was this man the Democratic National Committee turned to organize the work. Bob Kramer is the husband of Illinois Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. He's part of a group called Democracy Partners, and he too was caught on undercover video. Here explaining how he was hired by the Democratic National Committee to stage counter demonstrations and press conferences wherever the Trump campaign showed up.
And Pence are going to be at events.
Okay.
And we have a whole team across the country that does that. Both consultants and people from the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party apparatus and people from the campaign, the Clinton campaign. My role in the campaign is to manage all that.
Kramer stepped down from the campaign today and announced his subcontractor, Scott Fogle, was no longer working for his firm. Both the DNC and the Clinton campaign deny any coordination with anything involving the incitement of violence. Kramer himself told CNN his former contractors were committing barroom talk, insisting none of what is being described by Fogle ever actually happened. In a statement, Kramer writes, "We regret the unprofessional and careless hypothetical conversations that were captured on hidden cameras of a regional contractor for our firm. He is no longer working with us." The Clinton campaign response, while Project Veritas has been known to offer misleading video out of context, some of the language and tactics referenced in the video are troubling, even as a theory or a proposal never executed. We support the Democratic National Committee's appropriate action addressing this matter and look forward to continue waging a campaign of ideas worthy of our democratic process. James O'Keefe is a convicted criminal, they add, with a history of doctoring video to advance his ideological
That's not
agenda.
true. That's a freaking lie.
Andrew Griffin joins us now. So what's the DNC doing about this?
James O'Keefe has done nothing but tell us the truth. That's all he's done. Okay, you're a liar, sir. You're a liar, you ex-CIA operative.
First, they put out a statement saying, Anderson, there's no evidence that anything described on these tapes actually took place. They agree with Bob Kramer's decision to step away and separate.
But everyone got fired. Yeah, okay.
From any work on the Clinton campain. But they're also going to investigate, they say, James O'Keefe to find out if he did anything illegal in
Go to hell.
We also did just get a statement in from Democracy Partners. That's a group of a partnership basically that works on Democratic campaigns. They said that we were breached and betrayed, but still standing, and we condemn, violence and election tampering in all forms. So that's where it stands tonight, Anderson.
All right, Drew Griffin. Drew, thanks. You can bet the panel's got plenty to say about this. Clinton supporter and former Obama senior advisor Van Jones is with us. Clinton supporter and Democratic strategist Maria Cardona, chief political analyst Gloria Borger, Trump supporters Jeffrey Lord and Scotty Nell Hughes, and our political director David Chalian. Gloria, how big a deal is this? I mean, it certainly looks damning on the tape.
It does look damning, and we don't know how big a deal it is. It's just more garbage in what's been a very ugly and divisive campaign. We don't know whether this was locker room talk, to coin a phrase, to use a phrase, or whether this...
It is sort of, I mean, though, ironic that they're using the term barroom talk when they condemn Donald Trump for, saying locker room.
Exactly. We don't know how this video was gotten. We don't know how it was edited. I mean, there are so many unanswered questions to this story, so you need to start peeling the layer.
What? It's okay for you to have anonymous sources, right? Right? Wow, look at that. Look at that profile. Ouch.
Layers of the onion here. What I will say, though, on the face of it, you see the story. It first appears in Breitbart. It confirms an existing negative narrative. If you are so disposed to believe that the Clinton campaign is dishonest, et cetera, it will do that. I think, however, this is a story that needs a lot more reporting on it, and the tape is quite disturbing, honestly.
Jeffrey, I mean, as a Trump supporter, you hear these people talking about,
I'm not surprised.
Egging people on and fomenting violence.
Yeah, I'm not surprised in the least. As a matter of fact, I said some version of this months and months ago without knowing about this, and said, this is what the American left historically does. They do things like this. Chicago riots in 1968 were based with these kind of provocations. And to be bipartisan about it for a moment, the first thing I thought of when I heard this was Nixon's plumbers, who were out there breaking the law deliberately, burglarizing Daniel Ellsberg's psychiatrist's office and this kind of thing. I mean, this is not acceptable in American politics. Yeah. I mean, this is totally unacceptable. And here we are.
Maria?
You're right. It is not acceptable at all, which is why I'm glad that the DNC and the Hillary for America campaign came out and said as much. I do think we have to underscore, though, the fact that James O'Keefe has zero credibility in this area. He's the one who did the doctored videos of Planned Parenthood.
Right.
They're not fake. Those are real Planned Parenthood videos. She's lying to you. That is a lie. That is a lie. Okay?
Which were completely false.
No, they weren't.
He's a criminal, right?
They're not. No, you're a criminal. You're a criminal.
And so I think that yes, we have to look into it and to make sure that none of this actually happened. The DNC says none of it actually happened, and in fact, this group and this guy was not working for the DNC.
But I think to say he's a criminal, by the way, I mean, he did committed, I guess.
He's a convicted criminal, isn't he?
Well, he was convicted of a crime. I don't know that one brands a person a criminal for the rest of their life based on one action. Van, what do you make?
Yeah. But then I think we have to continue to look at it and see.
He was convicted of going into a federal building. It was a misdemeanor. Convicted of going into, I think it was a misdemeanor. A federal building, like I told you before. He went in because they said, oh, the phones don't work here. And his story that he was doing was they're lying and the phone was working. So he ran into the building and picked up the phone and got arrested. Oh, he's hardcore. Oh, my God, he's so hardcore. Get the hell out of here. I'll kick you in your...
going on?
Well, there are two different things here. One is...
Kick you right in your...
It looks like a confession from Creamer that they are sending people to the rallies to stir up trouble. That's not illegal. It's distasteful, but you can kind of live with that. The other, though, is horrific. The other is a conspiracy to rig an election. Now, I would take that much more seriously if it didn't come from Pinocchio. I mean, the guy, I don't like, calling people criminals.
By the way, that's Donald Trump's plane arriving here in Las Vegas. He's arriving for the debate tomorrow. Go ahead.
I would take it a lot more seriously. They're not booing me, Jeffrey. As much as you wish they were booing me, they're not booing me. They're booing your kid. So here's the deal. I think that the fact that this comes.
Look at this. This is funny as hell. Who expected this?
O'Keefe is a reason to withhold judgment. It's a reason to withhold judgment because
Put her ass in jail. Lock her up. Lock her up.
This guy literally is Mr. Pinocchio. He's as if there's a more a less trusted figure in American politics, I don't know who it is.
That's right.
But if any of this is even.
Did it stop? Did it just stop on me? I was trying to get funny.
The night prior to President Trump's inauguration, I made a promise at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. I said that Project Veritas was going to investigate and expose the media, particularly the mainstream media, which seems to believe that the American people are utterly incapable of making informed decisions. Everyone's saying, who are you going after next? I'm going to tell you right now, I'll make it public. I'm going after the media next. The media's relationship with the establishment renders them incapable of challenging the normative order in our society, while the media systematically targets and shames any independent media organization or citizen which attempts to ferret out real information.
Okay, folks, I'm cutting this one short here. This just went into another video while I was having fun. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Not Fake News. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and smash that like button like Hillary does Blackberries and emails and servers.